Hi, my name is Ivy Starnes, and I'm a gaited horse trainer in Fort Worth, Texas. And today we're talking about how to use head down to get a pacey horse to gait. Now, I'm super excited about this topic, and part of it is because I have a bunch of new footage to show you guys. I did a clinic in Idaho, and I'm going to be showing you two of the horses that were at that clinic. And if you want to watch those full videos, those are uploaded onto my private training group. All right, so first off, if you have any questions, please comment below. We love questions. And sorry we're late. We had some technical difficulties, but we're going for it now. Okay, if you've been watching my videos for any time at all, you know that I talk about head down. And when I say head down, I mean head down below the withers, nose out, and the neck stretching out and toward the ground. And this in the dressage world is called long and low. And it's not something that we want the horses to stay in permanently. We don't ask them to go down the trail with their head like this. But this is the very beginning of two things. One, relaxation. And two, it's the beginning of getting them to lift their back and lift their shoulders. Now, a lot of people will argue with me, and even today we had a few people arguing with me saying that when they put their head down, they're on the forehand. Yes, that's partly true, but when their head is up, they're on the forehand as well, unless you're using dressage techniques, which teaches the horse to lift from the behind end. But how do we get that lift? Well, at the beginning, one of the ways we can get that lift is by using that head down to help mobilize the back and help the hind end to reach under. And I'm going to show you videos of these two horses, how as the head goes down, they get out of the pace and start moving either in gait or diagonally, which would be more like the trot. This is really an important thing in the way I train, is to get that head down. Now, again, I want you to hear me that we don't ask the head to stay down permanently. It is a temporary thing to help the horse start to use his body and use it well. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Before I do, we have got a few people watching. I had hoped we'd get more. This is a super important topic. If you're watching, please share this video. All right, let's take a look at this first horse. This first horse name's Chrome. He's a Tennessee Walking Horse gelding. He gaits on the trail, but in the arena or on the road or pretty much any other place, he's very pacey, high-headed, lots of forward energy. Super fun horse, but doesn't know how to put his head down and relax. Now, he's soft. He knows how to tuck his nose, but he doesn't know head down. Also, if you're interested in training this, there's a free video available. The link is in the description. This is also included on my Glide Gait DVD. Head down is so important that the first disc 2 and 1 are flipped. But the first two discs over here, those are about head down, and then the third disc is using head down to get gait specifically. That's just how important it is I include 3 DVDs on it, and this is a 6 DVD set, and so it's really important. Okay, so here we go. Here's Chrome. This is the very beginning of his training. And he's very pacey. You can just see how he moves. His legs move on the one side forward and back together. His head is up and down. He's soft. He tucks his nose nicely. But I'm here to show you that just because they have their nose tucked doesn't mean they're actually gaiting or that they're set up to gait. Again, here he is. Again, this is Chrome. Very pacey. This is day 1. Here we go. This is going to be Chrome. I think this is day 2, where we are working on getting that head down. And again, this is happening in real time here. I'm going to turn this off here. It's real time. But I want to show you in slow motion also how he's moving. And we're going to include that footage as well. So here you go. When his head is going down, and he changes so much it can be hard to see. Right now, he's in a beautiful even 4-beat gait because his head's down. He can also, right there, start to move toward the trot. There you go, the diagonal. A lot of spring as he starts to trot. Then his head came up, and immediately he starts pacing. I know the graphic is covering it up a little. So there, his head came up and he started doing that stepping pace again. So you can see me there asking him to bring his nose in, and as soon as he does, I'll start to release my reins, and that's when he puts his head down, and that's when his gait right there starts to change to more of an even gait. There you go. See how that head's a little bit lower, a little more consistent? And now we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 time rather than that pace, which goes back and forth. I want to go back and show you that again. It can be hard to see, so because he goes farther away. But here you go. Here you can see how it's a pace or a stepping pace right there, and see how his head is up. So I'm asking him to tuck his nose, but the goal isn't to have his nose tucked in. It's to get it lower, and I give him a looser rein because I want that nose out. I want that throat latch open, not closed, because he's bringing his head in. And you can start to see how the footfalls change and it gets smoother. You can see I stop bouncing as he hits that even 4-beat gait. Here's another video. Here he's just walking. I'm going to ask him to speed up right here, and his head comes up. He's pacing, pacing. I'm asking him to drop his head.
And then his head
Still pacing. Up. Still pacing. There you go. There he trots a little bit. So then I ask him to put his head up, but then he gaited a little bit at the end. We'll watch that in slow motion here. And again, I stop and praise. Here it is. So at the beginning, this is just a walk. When I speed him up here, and you can see the reins are loose. He isn't quite comfortable with where to put his head yet. So that's why you'll see his head move around a lot. He's learning to be consistent. And here he's moving forward and right into a stepping pace. Not very comfortable, but see how he's starting to drop that head? When he does, so see how his head's up? Now he's really pacing because his head went up. He tucks his nose. I give him a looser rein. And as he starts to drop his head, he moves a little bit into the trot right here. Watch those diagonals. Right there. Trot step, almost a trot step. And then I ask him to get out of that trot right here. And then there's a nice 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see me pulling on the reins. That's to slow him down. He's a horse that has a lot of energy and a lot of go forward. And you have to balance that forward energy with slow down. The second horse you're going to see is very different because he's a lower energy horse. And so we're adding go forward. Because with the head down, we're not just trying to get them to go head down and be like pokey and slow. The idea is to add energy to get them to lift their back and use their whole body. That's the whole point. And here's the last video of Chrome on day 2 again. You can really see that forward energy, really start to see an overstride.
Nice. That was good.
And here you go. We'll watch this in slow motion again. And really notice how much that hind end overstrides the front as he starts to really move well. You can also see the ears flopping. He had no ear flop at the beginning. But as he moves through the hind end, he's doing really well. Now, the reason you'll see me have a little bit of contact on the reins is just to keep him slow because he was still learning speed control. And if I let him go too fast, he would break gait. You can start to see that 1, 2, 3, 4. Really see that step under from the hind end. That tail has a really nice bob. See his head comes up a little bit as he's going into the trot. I try to fix it. Right there, he puts it back down and has a nice even gait right there. And I slow him down here so I can stop and praise before he goes too far. Whew, okay. He was an awesome horse to work with, and I love being able to show that to you guys. Hi, Cindy from North Carolina, and Greta is representing Pennsylvania. Diana from Texas, Linda from Minnesota, Anita is watching. Abigail says, hi, good to see you. Good to see you, Abigail. Crystal's watching from blazing hot Arkansas. Yeah, it's like 101 degrees today in Texas. But for the record, for all those people that were asking me how I would like Texas, the humidity is pretty low, especially compared to the Midwest. Denise says, hi from Texas. Heidi says, wow, the slow-mo really shows the leg movement shift. Yeah, Heidi, it's Heidi's horse, by the way, she's watching. The slow motion really shows how, as the head goes up and down, it really shows the shift, how instantaneous it is. Julie's watching too. Hey, Julie. Lori says she's also representing Pennsylvania. Melissa from California. Catherine is from North Carolina. And Sue also says hi. So keep the questions coming if you guys have any. The other thing I want to talk about quickly, because it's been brought up today, some people questioning my methods, which is okay. It's okay for other people to use other methods. They were asking why I do stop and praise. And some people even brought up how many years of experience they have. And that's okay. There are people that know more than me about gaited horses, and I am still learning just like everybody else. Here's what I have learned in the last 5 years especially. 5 years ago, my brother and I took a trip out west, and I did lessons on different gaited horses throughout the West. And what I learned is some of these horses, I only had an hour to an hour and a half to work on their gait. And what I learned was that when I stopped more often and let the horse stand there for 1 to 5 minutes and think about whatever we were just working on, whether it's head down, cantering, gaiting, when I did that, the horses learned faster. All of us, when our horses gait, we want them to gait farther. And most of us, when they gait, we just let them keep going. But then we all struggle to get gait late again. We want gait that happens consistently, and I propose that in training anything of any breed of horse, the more you stop and praise and let them think about it, the more training actually happens. It doesn't matter if you want to get more gait. At the beginning, you praise for a little bit of gait, and you're going to see dividends and rewards exponentially as the horse actually understands what you want. And this is why I am such a big proponent of actually stopping and praising the horse for those couple steps. And I know a lot of gaited people disagree with me. They think you need more forward, and they're welcome to keep training that way. I'm not going to go into their barns and tell them they're wrong. I'm not going to take their clients away, but I'm showing you that I have ridden over 500 different gaited horses. I ride almost 100 different gaited horses every year. And the majority of them, no, not the majority, all of them learn when you stop and let them think about it. Stop and let it soak, let it sink in. I have so many testimonials. Maybe next week, I'm going to put all those testimonials together. And those are just the people that volunteer to send me testimonials about how stop and praise has helped. So if you get a little bit of gait, no matter what breed or what gait it is, whether your horse is trotty or pacey, stop and praise for that little bit of gait, and you're going to see your horse start to get it. Okay, now, if you want to know how to train head down, there's a free video. The link is in the description. You can also, again, get my DVDs. You don't have to buy them. There's lots of free stuff, but it is in here. And if you buy this one, you can also get this one free, which is Training Your Horse to Side Bats, the mounting block. There's also my private training group. But again, there's free videos. You don't have to pay for anything if you don't want. Super important. Now, we haven't talked a ton about the neck. We're going to be talking about that more soon. We have Allison saying hi from Virginia. Lisa, hi from New Hampshire. Amanda says, other people might have more years of experience, but I'm the only gaited horse specialist who implements reward-based training and always keeps humane practices in mind. My results speak for themselves. Thank you, Amanda. That's super nice of you. And Abigail, right there, she says stop and praise works. Thank you. It's okay if there's other techniques people want to use. I'm not against that. There's other really good trainers out there, and diversity is good. I want you to learn from people other than me, and if I'm wrong or you have questions, I want you to call me out on it because I'll get better that way. But keep in mind, I am probably always going to advocate for head down because it helps horses relax, period. And I'm going to stop and praise because it helps horses learn. And I believe that stop and praise is where they learn, not while you're doing stuff. Okay. Next horse. This is Camus. He's a Tennessee walking horse. Great breeding, great training. He paces. He paces. He's been ridden on trails. He's strong. He looks beautiful. He's soft, and he paces. And if Heidi's watching, I mean, she's done an amazing job with him. I loved riding him. He was balanced. He moved off my leg, but he paced. And yes, he's gorgeous, but he paced. Did I say that enough? He paced. How do we fix that? Good. So what I was doing to help him was to really get him to put his head down. To put his head down and not just bring his nose in, because this horse is an expert at getting behind the bit and bringing his nose in toward his chest, but not so good at stretching down. And we're going to go into more of that a little bit, but you can see he's just doing a stepping pace. He tends to be a little bit lazy. He's not rushy. He's not really big strided. Also, very, very short steps. Very, very short steps from the hind end means he's not really using that hind end. He looks strong. His neck looks good, but he's just not using his body. He's hollowing his back. Again, just watch how he moves. It's just very pacey. You could speed him up. You could slow him down. He just paces. You can hold his nose in more, and he paces. So let's go ahead and look at, this is day 1. Also, just in the arena, working on a bigger circle, asking him to drop his head. And we're going to see this. That shot I showed you because he actually trotted there. I'm skipping the part where we worked on the head down. If you want to see that whole progress, it's on the private training group. I just uploaded it today. Notice how his head, as he starts to open his throat latch and stretch down, he has a couple steps of gait, and right here, he switched to a trot. And this is a horse that never trotted. Never trotted. Right there, he trots. Instead, and gaited, and it's broken trot. So instead of pacing, which this horse had always done, he switched. It was amazing. He switched over in just a few minutes of head down training. And you notice that his head isn't down on the ground. Some horses need their heads really low to gait. And some horses just need to get it lower so they start to lift their body. Part of the reason this was so easy for him was because he was very strong already. He was very fit. He just needed those last little pieces. And you notice when he gaited there, I was about to stop and praise him. And that's super, super important. All right, let's take another look. This is day 2, the first clip from day 2. Riding on the road.
Good boy.
Maybe this is not, I think this is the right clip. Okay. So
Almost.
his head is still up a little bit.
Almost.
He still likes to get a little bit
That's
behind
too tight, big guy.
the bit, but I want to show you.
There.
Look at that beautiful gait. See that tail
There.
bobbing a little bit? And I'm asking him for head
job.
down and not just
Good
nose in.
job.
And again, his
Nicely
nose,
done.
his head
Good.
isn't down on the ground. Sorry, I keep forgetting to turn that off. It isn't down on the ground. It's basically, we're asking for him to put his nose out. Look at that, right there. That's where I want him to be. Not too low because then he starts to trot. Look at that. Look at that beautiful arch neck, but notice how the nose isn't inside. There he got trotty, and so I was lifting up to get him out of the trot. Look at that beautiful gait. We're going to watch some of this in slow motion. His stop is amazing, by the way, which is why I kind of went forward there. And the reason I'm leaving this stop and praise, because I did talk about it. So he gaited there. He's stopping, pacing. He used to just pace, and now he's gaiting and trotting. And all we didn't do any lateral work. All we did was work on head down. Granted, Heidi had done all the work, really got him there, but we just needed the head down on a loose rein, basically stretching long and low. And for him, it doesn't need to be too low. Now, as he gets stronger, I'd expect his head to be just a little lower, but he's going to look gorgeous. So we have the stop and praise there. You're going to see me turn around, and you're going to see as his head, if he starts trotting, you'll see me lift the reins. Look at his head down. That's what I want. So there he jumped into a pace. Now he's gaiting. Now he's going to do a little trot. I'm not trying to hold his nose in. I'm trying to get him to stretch down and out. Look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful gait. He didn't used to do that. That was just phenomenal. Just so good. It's a little fast. And it's interesting because he's the horse that they said was really lazy. But I'm telling you, once horses get this in their brain, they love doing it. Okay, here you go. Here we go in moving in a beautiful gait. Now right here, his head goes down a little too low. He starts to go to the trot, and then he starts to switch to the pace. So he switched to the pace, so I take up contact, asking him to drop that head. See how he starts to stretch down, and I'm not holding his nose in. I'm just maintaining the speed. I'm saying hold it there, don't go faster. And look at that beautiful, even 4-beat gait that we have there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm going to go back to where we can see that live, and so you can listen to that. And then right here, I'm going to stop and praise before he actually breaks. So let me find, so here we go. We're going to turn around, and I'm going to let you listen.
Now I'm keeping him slow. Beautiful. Nice. Good boy.
How was that, guys? That was a horse that only paced, and he should have gaited. And all we did was work on some head down, and he completely changed. All right, let's see if any questions, and then we got one more session from him to show you guys. Stacy says, hi. Stacy was my clinic in New Hampshire, doing great with her horse. Kathy says, think about how hard it is for us to learn something great and respectful to let the horse to pause and think. Catherine says, I don't have a DVD player anymore. Do I offer digital download? Yes, great question. I offer digital download and a USB drive. Those are in the link too. Carl says, hi from Florida. Stacy says, head down works. Yep, she totally did head down with her horse and saw a huge change. Anita says, Crystal says, I'm seeing results in such a short amount of time. Actually, I'm going to try this really quickly, guys, see how this works. Published to graphics. Does that work? I don't know if that works or not. No, it's not working. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to publish that hey, this is really cool. Now I can show you guys what comments I'm reading. Sorry, still learning about new technology some. If I go here and, okay. All right, so Crystal says, I'm seeing results in such a short amount of time. Once I got my mare to move forward last night, we did head down and instantly went from ouch bouncing to smooth where I could talk to others without tripping and not tripping. That's amazing, Crystal. Good job. So many people won't practice it, and you nailed it. Heidi says, who owns the horse we just showed, Camus is why I begged Ivy to come to Idaho. Pucka Pucka last Sunday. Oh, I'm so glad, Heidi. That's great. That's fantastic. Sue says, let's see if I can do this. Sue says, Willow's head tends to be similar to Camus, not to the ground, but neck bent like that. So yeah, Camus was like that when I rode him, and I really worked on head forward and down with the throat latch open. So behind the bit, so this is the horse's head, the rider's sitting over here. When their head here is behind the bit, and we want that throat latch open and going like this, rather than tucked like this. And there's so many reasons for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at one more video of Camus, the horse we were just looking at. And let's go ahead, take a look at this last video of Camus. Okay, so this is some zoomed in. This is from day 1. And we're going to really talk about what we're seeing here. We've got that nose really far in, and what you see is that it looks nice, but what we're seeing is that the top of his neck, the top line, is getting shorter and shorter, and he's getting compressed. That neck is getting compressed into his body, and his back is hollow. And what you're going to see here, this is also on day 1, working forward. And you notice that, again, his head isn't down to the ground. Some gaited horses need their head down a lot lower, like Chrome, the first horse we looked at. But we're going to start to see, watch the head and neck. And if you want more information about this, the full video is on my private training group and in the DVD about why it's important for the head and neck to look like this. So right here, he throws his head up, and he starts to move pacey here. And you can see that top line, the top of his neck gets shorter and the underside gets longer, even though his nose is in. What we want is right here, this movement right here, where he starts to stretch down and forward. Now, right now, his throat latch is a little bit closed because I'm slowing him down. So we don't want that. See how he's curling under? That's not what we want. I should have let go of my reins, but I was also trying to keep him from going a little bit too fast. But right there, see how, so there he's tucking behind, but you really want that more open forward movement right here, where the nose is in front of the vertical. And this can be with their head up high or down low. Right there. We're looking for more like that, not where he's tucked in. And I know we've got some in here where you can see it a little bit. And part of it is he does it really well. See how there his nose is in front of the vertical? That's great. I'd love to see it a little bit lower, but he's gaiting right there. And so the reins are loose and his nose is in front of the vertical. That's exactly what I'm looking for right there. So I hope that starts to make sense. Let's go see if there's any more questions. Crystal says, such a pretty horse. Yeah, Camus is gorgeous. Lori says, awesome. She says, can we still get head down with the Bosal instead of a bit? I don't use a bit on my mare. Yes, absolutely. You can do this with a bitless bridle, with the Bosal. The big thing is to release. As Michelle says, it's the release that teaches and the stop and praise. Exactly. Completely agree. Let's see. Oh, Sue says, I feel that this is what she does. I'll watch more closely the next ride. And then people say it's hot and humid in northern Illinois. Yeah, the humidity is pretty high, I saw in Illinois. Okay, let me go through another scenario. And this is super important. What if you have a horse who is pacey, but when you do head down, they don't gait? Let me show you an example. This is Cimarron, and he was at my clinic, and he's fairly green, but he will put his head down. He's still learning how to do head down, but he will continue to pace with his head down low. He's pretty green, so muscling is a little bit of an issue in terms of him being strong enough. But look at how low he can put his head as we go around here. And he doesn't gait. His head goes down, and he doesn't gait. And this, so there, see how low it goes? But he doesn't gait. And that is normal for a lot of horses. And for the horses that are like that, you need to do more. In the link in the description, I give you other tips on how to break up that pace. You can use ground poles. You can use lateral work. The most beneficial thing is to do a leg yield. So that's super, super helpful to do. And to do stop, back up, and go forward. And those are all things, well, not the leg yield, but everything else I talk about in my DVD. So you guys can learn from that. Again, you don't have to buy it. There's a lot of free videos. The links are in the description. The horses that I showed, if you want to see the complete training of those from the clinics, that's on the private training group. Okay. Let me know if anybody has any more questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up. If you don't mind, one of the best things you can do is to share this. Share this with your friends so they can learn what the pace is. They can learn why head down is valuable. And they can learn why stop and praise helps so many horses start to get gait. It's so important, and it's the very basics. And it's what I teach. And I ride about 100 horses a year or so. Except for in 2020, but even then I still rode something like 30 horses, 30 different gaited horses, and these things work. Stop and praise works, head down works. Although if you have a trotty horse, remember the head down is good for relaxation, not for getting gait. Oh yeah. Heidi says, can we talk about bits? Cam was in the snaffle, and we switched to the McGregor. So Cam was in a little shanked bit, just a little tiny shank, and he'd been doing well in it, but we switched to the McGregor releasing bit, and when we did, we saw him really stretch down and be more relaxed. Again, the bit didn't make him gait, but he stopped tucking so much, and so did another one of Heidi's horses, who was a lot behind the bit. When we switched to the McGregor, it helped them stretch down and out without having too much. They weren't behind the bit. A lot of horses would use a shanked bit. Some of them will be behind the bit, and that just makes them compressed and their back hollow. And when we switch to the McGregor, we often see horses start to open that throat latch, stretch forward and out. And again, if you go back and look at the videos of Cam, he's in these videos where he's gaiting, he's not head down. He doesn't need to have his head down to the ground. He just needed it a little bit lower, and he needed his nose out. And then stop and praise when we got gait. It made all the difference in the world for him, and he just did so well. That's a great question, Heidi. Thank you for asking that. Abigail says, let's see. Abigail says, recently my gaited mare feels like her back feet are doing something different than her front. Almost like the back are getting jumbled up when I'm in the seat. She's not really had a problem before the last couple of months. Have you been working on head down? Because it's possible she started moving toward the trot. Honestly, the best way to tell what gait your horse is doing is to get someone to video you from the side, or for you just to prop your phone up somewhere and go back and forth in front. It's amazing what that little bit of feedback will do for you. But good question. Thank you for asking. And keep in mind, next week we're going to have some more live videos. Okay, Thunder says, I recommend riding gaited horses with a Bosal. Absolutely. I mean, you can totally train a gaited horse in a Bosal, a bitless, snaffle. When I first started riding and getting into gaited horses, I was told you only can get gaited horses to gait in a shanked bit. And I was really like, I don't believe that. And so I started training him in a snaffle or a halter. So it can be anything. The horse just has to be comfortable in it. And you have to be a good rider. Abigail says, can I send you a video? Absolutely, Abigail, you can do that. Thank you guys so much for all your questions. I love questions. I love the interaction. And I love doing these live videos with everybody. The best thing you can do for me, if you don't mind, would just share this with your friends. And I will have more live videos coming to you next week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I would love to just be able to help you guys with your horses. You got this.